Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. After finding a hole in the back fuel line on the tank, I was concerned. I thought the plastic fuel line was the fault of the problem. Then I came up here and looked and I said, okay, I don't have plastic line up here, I have plastic line in the back. This is a rubber hose that connects to a metal line that connects to the fuel rail right there. And then it swaps and goes back to steel line that goes underneath the truck. So I wasn't quite as concerned. Then I came back here and got ready to take this line loose. And I looked at it closely and I said, that isn't a crack. That's where something's chewed through it. That's a rodent infestation. So GM, I have to apologize. I've bad-mouthed you for no apparent reason. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't take care of your fuel lines. The other things that were going on still hold true. Other people still had split fuel lines. Mine just was of a different reason. Top of the fuel pump is still rusty. The lines appear to be solid. The locking ring appears to be solid. It's not rusted anywhere near as bad as the other ones that I've seen on YouTube. This is 9.5 millimeter 3/8. See, I'm supposed to open this up and slip it over that line. It sounds good, but that line is too close together to get it on there. So I'm going to have to cut these down. See if I can get that to fit in between those two things there. What I did is I sanded off the corners. Instead of looking like this, it now has these edges worn away, filed away, ground away. See if I can get this to slip over that line now. It's close. I gotta take it further. Well, that works pretty slick. Went on, came off. I probably got another one underneath the cab of the truck. This is part number 904-021 616 24210. Part number DOO 904-021. 904-021. That's what's written on the side, or imprinted into the side of this thing. I don't know what the 616-24210 is. Might be a serial number. Hard to say. Okay, we're underneath now. in a little indentation in the front of the tank. Somewhat protected, that's good. But it's going to be real tough to get that tool up there to connect with that fitting and get it out. I wonder if I can pull that line out a little bit. Yes. I can get it out that way. Looks like this line has to come out by going out the back, but I got enough room in there to maybe get this tool in. This little segment represents 10 minutes of frustration, trying to get that little tool to go in there and release that catch. Turns out that tool doesn't work on that fitting at all. There's two little white buttons. Well, actually, they're parts of the inner locking ring that are on either side of that little elbow fitting there. When you press on those two sides, the little locking ring retracts and out she comes. Now, it would have been nice to have some explanation of how that worked, but I didn't have one. But you got one now. So don't spend 10 minutes trying to get that stupid little tool in there. Oh, and it didn't work on the pump either. It was easier to just take the pliers and pinch that little button on either side, release it a little bit, and then just take the pliers and pop it off of there. There, it came off. Had a little problem. I spilled gasoline on the front of my phone and I had to clean things off because I certainly didn't want to have gasoline getting into the works on my phone. So now I've got the fuel line off. I got to go around back and pull that fuel line through the gap there and on top of the tank, and then get it stuck out of here so I can clip the other other fuel line back onto it. Let's hope that takes care of it. That would be a nice change from the rest of the week's work. At least I hope it's going to work that way. You never know when you're doing this kind of stuff. Take off the piece of tape that I used to keep the dirt out of the line. Looks like it's hooked. Okay, guess I'm going to leave the old line in there, just cut off the bad part, and let it ride. Yeah, there's a keeper down in there. That line just clips right on there. There's some kind of a keeper down inside that, on top of that tank. Shorter drop on the tank, which I don't want to do. I don't see any way to do anything other than put that down there. Be gentle, Dave. Shove that one in. Shove that one in. There it comes off. Okay, I need to put something over the end of this, protect it, keep any dirt out of it. It must anchor into a clip underneath the bed, or up underneath the cab. plug the end of the line. I'm going to put it down in there like that. Slip it up. There it clips on. Now I should be able to just shove this on there and have it work. Make sure I get everything off of there. Off the piece of tape that I used to keep the dirt out of the line. Looks like it's hooked. Okay, guess I'm going to leave the old line in there, just cut off the bad part and let it ride. Okay, now the acid test.
Americans, Asian Americans, women in the workplace, African American youth unemployment. Gas prices never once during the first term ever got above $3 an average per gallon. Gas prices are now down dramatically. Small business optimism, consumer confidence is up dramatically. We have low inflation. And the other thing that is
leaking out the back of that elbow. Just pouring.
Related to the Fed's interest rate policy. And that is home building. And there's an easy explanation to that. Who's going to give up a...
Leaking right out of the back of that elbow. I replaced the line because some little rat got in there and chewed on it. And I thought, well, that was the whole problem. And all I've been talking about with the rust and all the other things, it's just not really important. Well then, I put the new line on and I moved that elbow just a little bit. And it broke it. Rusted right through. If you have any suggestions for new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union without the express written permission of the parents or the legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.